Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Musician from Hits Academy, a newsletter, coaching service, podcast, and blog preparing today's musicians for tomorrow's realities. Today's episode is titled, Excellence is Not an Event. Thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for TEM. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba Mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Last week's Quartet of Ideas, the newsletter from TEM, was issue number 36, and the most clicked on link was about a system for taking notes. If you are a TEM listener, then I am positive that you are like me and have ideas popping into your head all of the time. I recently, with the inspiration of this short article, I made some tweaks to how I capture ideas and notes, and it's been really helpful to me. You can see episode. I always want to say that every week. I want to say episode 36. Newsletters do not have episodes. If you'd like to see issue 36, you can go to tem.fm/newsletter, where you can actually find all 36 of the episode issues. And a big thank you and hello to the people who have subscribed this week. It's nice to have you on board. Okay, excellence is not an event. Today's episode was inspired by Aristotle, not always a go-to source for music business insights, but this is a really good quote. You are what you repeatedly do. Excellence is not an event, it is a habit. A couple of years ago, I hosted Jeff Nelson of Canadian Brass, he's the horn player, for an Inside the Practice Room. The entire hour that I spent with him was absolute gold, but he said one thing in particular that I have repeated 100 times since then to students and to myself. Here is a very short clip from that Inside the Practice Room.
I'm in there to do 25 minutes of good work, and that's it. I don't look for growth that much. I look for good versions. I look for learning, but the growth is a result that I just trust is going to happen. But I do 25 minutes of good work. I put notes. I have a session where I just play long notes as softly as possible. I call them soft 20s. And I put them to the tuner and get my lips as efficient as possible. It ends up building strength and efficiency. But I just do that. And day after day, after a week or two of that, my intonation gets better. I've calibrated and all these things. But that's a really good way for me to deal with frustration in the practice room, is that I'm just there to do work. If I don't see results, it doesn't mean they're not happening.
Right.
I'm just doing the work.
I'm just here to do the work. If I don't see results, that doesn't mean they're not happening. I'm just doing the work. Jeff is one of the best horn players in the world, just a phenomenal player. That is the result of his habit of showing up over and over again for literally decades in his case, and his trusting that the growth or excellence will be there. And for him, it of course has been, just because he keeps showing up. It's important to note that Jeff can't operate a horn at that world-class level because of an event or one particular breakthrough. It's because of what he repeatedly did and continues to do, which is to show up for intentional practice. So what does Jeff's horn playing have to do with being an entrepreneurial musician? I have worked with many musicians through TEM coaching who fully get that you only master an instrument through sustained effort over a prolonged period of time. In fact, I can't think of a single one. By the time that you realize that coaching is going to be best for you to get to the next level, then you've already put in the sustained effort, and you don't need me to be telling you that you can't get good at an instrument in a month or 6 months, right? But a lot of those people that I have worked with don't realize at the same time that that is also how all of the skills needed for the business side of a portfolio career also work. Time and time again, I have seen musicians who have almost unlimited patience in the practice room, at least in the big picture, that get frustrated when they don't get 100 YouTube subscribers like really quickly when they launch a YouTube channel, or who want to expand their networking efforts but get frustrated and quit when they've only been doing it for a month, or try to build a website and get frustrated that it takes too long to get familiar with the platform. So I challenge all of you to ask yourself the following question. are you as patient with the business side of your music career as you are with the musical side? And to get a little more granular, which aspects specifically of the business side of things are you less patient with than you could be? The good news is that there is an almost 100% chance that you've already demonstrated the ability to be that patient and that intentional. You just probably have to apply it to other aspects of your career as well. If any of you teach, you know that when someone can do something already and you just have to have them apply that somewhere else, that's a much shorter path to take than they can't do it at all and they have to acquire the skill in the first place. I coach people, by the way, on this stuff all the time, and yet I certainly know that I need to apply my practice room level patience to a few aspects of my career. So thank you to Aristotle and to Jeff Nelson. That's a funny sentence because he's one of my best friends, and the fact that I'm like now lumping him in with Aristotle, I hope he doesn't hear this. Thank you to Aristotle and to Jeff Nelson for the reminder that excellence is not an event but a process. Okay, this week's quote is from Meredith Arthur. Quote, "You cannot start something new and expect to be a master at it. Getting comfortable with the awkwardness is the first step to learning." Getting comfortable with the awkwardness, that's the key to making the magic happen. I once had a mentor tell me that I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that was some of the best advice I've ever received in my life because it applies to absolutely everything. It applies to performing music. It applies to every single aspect of the business side of my career. It applies to life in general. If you don't regularly feel awkward, then you're doing it wrong because it means you aren't learning. And that is going to lead to failure, or in some ways, even worse, to stagnation. The musicians I know who are stagnant, either in regards to their playing or their teaching gigs or entrepreneurially, are some of the most unhappy people I know. And I don't mean most unhappy musicians, I mean most unhappy people, period. Because when art becomes something where we feel like we're just going through the motions, it somehow feels a lot worse than a job where we know going in that we are just going to go through the motions, because art is just so personal. And when we put ourselves into it, and then when that gets taken out, and then it's like just a lot of work and frequently not a lot of job security and not necessarily a lot of pay, and the art part is stagnant or gone, it's awful. So lean into the awkward, remain teachable, and don't just remain teachable, but like actively seek out getting out of your comfort zone. It is the key to success financially. It is the key to artistic success, and it's also just the key to happiness. Thank you very much. You know what makes me happy is that you're listening to this right now. So thank you to everyone who is listening, who is watching this on YouTube, who has subscribed, either place, your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, left a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Patreon patrons, you mean the world to me. So thank you to all of you for supporting TEM. And that's going to do it for another episode of The Entrepreneurial Musician.